Ever watch a movie and think to yourself, why would they do that? There was a movie that came out a few years ago in which Batman fights Superman. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I envy you. In case you didn't get the impression from all that internet backlash, it didn't do so well. Often I'll go see a movie and afterward I'll think to myself, why is this a smoking hot turd? These people have access to just about everything, right? This movie has an enormous budget and a pretty good cast, and this is what they do with it?
Well, fudge that sugar.
For those of you who don't know me personally, I'm a pretty huge Batman fan. Me and everybody else in the world, right? And after the masterpiece that was Nolan's Batman trilogy, we get this?
You got my hopes up so high and then you mugged and shot them in an alleyway.
Now, I don't have to explain why this movie didn't work because there's a ton of videos on the internet that do that. And it's not like I can point out one moment where the entire thing went off the deep end.
Save Martha!
But let's just say, hypothetically, that instead of Zack Snyder, I was selected to write and direct this movie. Completely hypothetical. Here's what I would have done differently. There was a lot of hype around this movie prior to its release, and I have to admit, I was pretty excited too. The trailer looked good, Batman's suit looked amazing, the cast was questionable, but I was still hopeful. I mean, when I heard that Heath Ledger was playing the Joker all those years ago, I was pretty skeptical at first, and seeing how that turned out, I was willing to give this a chance. But the thing that interested me the most about this movie was supposedly its biggest inspiration was Frank Miller's masterpiece, The Dark Knight Returns. Even though the movie and graphic novel have many similarities, they differ in the ways that matter most, at least to me. In the book, there's many other things going on, and I understand that they can't really fit all this in a movie that's supposed to set up the Justice League, but I still think they could have done something better than this crap. Before I get into my version of the script, let me tell you what I would have taken out. No Lex Luthor, no Doomsday, no this guy. I think Lex should have like a small cameo or something, same with Diana. I know she's a great character, but I don't think she really has much to do with the conflicts in this particular installation. Still leave a cameo though. Like leave the scene at the party and maybe leave the other Justice League cameos in there too. Anyway, onto the script. Okay, so the movie begins with Bruce and his parents walking outside of the opera, or movie theater, after seeing The Mark of Zorro. To any non-casual Batman fan, this should look familiar. Joe Chill shows up and Maggie and Negan are gunned down in front of Bruce. Why would you do this to Glenn, Maggie? Why? Do we really need this scene again? I mean, this was already done almost perfectly a few years ago. Let's take it out. We all know who Batman is. How about instead of that, we open with a scene where Bruce is trying to save people during the destruction of Man of Steel. We keep that scene in so that Bruce and the audience can understand what he's up against. Then we stay on Bruce for a little bit. We see his day-to-day life and how it's a little empty since he hung up the cape and cowl 10 years ago, after the brutal murder of his sidekick Robin. After everything from Superman's appearance to violent gangs and skyrocketing crime levels being shoved in his face everywhere he looks, he slowly decides that it's time for the Caped Crusader to hit the mean streets of Gotham City once again, a lot like The Dark Knight Returns. Then we switch over to Superman, so we're getting both stories side by side in the beginning of the movie leading up to their confrontation. Over here we got Superman, who is adored and treated like a god by some, but treated like a menace or even a villain by most, mainly the media and government. So Superman's kind of in a bad spot here. He doesn't know what he should do, but he knows that he doesn't want to be mistaken for a villain. He's a good guy. He feels bad about destroying the city, and he wants to prove all that. So let's say he does go to City Hall and instead of getting blown up by a bomb, which he totally could have seen with X-ray vision, he pleads his case and makes a deal with the US government. As penance for the damage to the city, he now works for them, helps them fight their wars, stops ships from sinking or whatever else they need superheroes for. Basically, he's their lapdog, but Superman sees it as a peaceful solution that benefits everyone. An understandable solution. And we could even keep that montage in where he's helping a bunch of people throughout the world. However, after a while, the US government also orders him on top secret missions that don't seem too savory, leading Superman to question if he's fighting on the right side. Meanwhile, in Gotham City, Batman is cleaning up the streets and feeling more like his old self than he ever did. His 10-year sabbatical really put everything in perspective for him, and he's even a better Batman now than he ever was a full decade ago. But it's making the police look bad. So the president, or whoever, sends Superman to deal with the vigilante problem in Gotham City. Again, pulling a lot from the inspired source material. So now we have the confrontation, but this time we understand and even sympathize with both parties. This way, we as the audience are more invested and actually interested in its conclusion. Obviously, we shouldn't have them stop fighting because their mommies share the same name, but since this is my script, I would have Batman beat Superman and drive home his point with an epic monologue about how the justice system has failed and that it's up to him to correct it if no one else will. So after this, we show the media in an uproar, questioning what this means for society now that Superman seemingly can't stop the Batman. Superman once again feels alienated. Get it? alienated, and again, unsure how to make things right. He finds Batman in Gotham City, but this time to talk, not to fight. He tells him he feels Batman is right about their society, but wrong about doing it alone, so they decide to build the Justice League together. Roll credits. I know that might have sounded a little cheesy to some of you, but that was just an idea of what I would have liked to see instead of what we got. Because what we got was a steaming pile of trash. As the viewers, we don't just want to see superheroes beating the mess out of each other. You know what we really want to see? Two heroes fighting for what they believe in. Two people with actual conviction. And that, to me, is what good drama looks like. And maybe Batman doesn't kill people?